Well, before I present myself and talk more about the security auditing stuff, I would really like to praise Fantom for what you guys are doing, because it requires you to have no ego to take Ethereum virtual machine and continue improving it versus doing something that many other projects do, where they come up with something entirely new, and this new stuff turns to be something that is very hard to bring to market. So good job, Fantom. Yay! Any more people? Yay! And then I also wanted to really understand whether this audience is technical or business-oriented. So who is technical? Can you raise your hands? All right. And the others are business? Okay, great. Both or none? Okay, great. And who has already done their audit somewhere? Who's got the experience? All right. Everybody else, I take, are planning to do this in the future because it's something you cannot escape in this space. So I represent Zokio. I'm a partner at Zokio, and basically Zokio started as the auditing firm and is now doing three things. It's doing the auditing, of course, predominantly the smart contracts auditing, and Solidity is our forte, something that we also are passionate about and love. But then on the back of our auditing deal flow, and we've got like insane deal flow from all the chains, we started Zokio Labs, where we accelerate the key deals. We provide technology marketing acceleration, and then we've got the VC arm, where we invest in seed stage. Hartej wanted to be here. I know many of you guys are friends with Hartej. He is saying sorry, he is saying hi. So Hartej is the founder of Zokio, and when he was founding Zokio back in 2019, and basically Miko Matsumura, our common friend, has texted us like, hey guys, you have to work together. Ian, you've been in the space for a few years by then. Hartej, you just fit each other. And Hartej was right starting Zokio. And could I think that in 2 years, even less than 2 years, we would be able to audit like 138 protocols and smart contract sets, mostly again Solidity, Ethereum virtual machine, with the median amount of contracts per suite being 8, not including of course, the dependencies. We never count them. So it's been crazy. Like we've been heads down, but I'm so excited to share all the knowledge and all the best practices that we have acquired. So basically, just a little bit more about us. Besides just the security auditing of the smart contracts, we do the penetration testing. We do all kinds of other security-related assessments, but again, the Solidity is our sweet spot. And by the way, we have made 30 investments so far, again, on the back of all the deal flow that we receive. Of course, everybody's pinging us to do the audit at as early stage as possible, so that's our advantage in how we were able to get in so many deals, really high-end deals at the earliest stage. So why is auditing important? Look, these numbers are like the most commonly met flaws, vulnerabilities, exploits, and hacks for only the fall. And the fall is not even a season that has ended yet, and it counts like for $200 million. And of course, everybody requires the auditing right now because basically the VCs, they will want you to have the audit. You will not be able to go to the exchange without the audit. And of course, the service providers, like really reputable marketing firm, market-making firms, they need the audit from you. We know that because they are sending deals our way. They're like, hey, Zokio, can you actually make the audit for this company before they come to us and before we can really work with them? So a question is, what do you do with this? You cannot do this last minute, so you first of all have to be prepared for the audit itself. Usually the auditors are booked in advance. And then usually even before you go to the auditor, Like you have to instill certain procedures in-house to ensure that the auditor would even take you on board. Because what's happening with Zokio, not very often, but sometimes, is when teams are not ready, we have to send them back home. We would offer the coaching for them. We would like help them evolve. But basically, there are cases where teams are just not ready. And the first thing first, everybody has to have their own tests. If a project comes to us saying, hey, here is like the Solidity package from us, but we don't have any tests, we just tested manually, it's a definite no-go. And this is the systemic risk, because even if we write the suite of smart contract tests for them this time, we know for sure that next time when they deploy a new solution without the tests, it's super vulnerable and exposed to hacks and what have you. So of course we recommend the industry standard coverage, which is above 95%. Out of the tech guys, can you raise hands who of you are writing tests? Okay, and now those who don't write tests? None. One. Okay, that's fine. We can help you there. So, best practices, like we've got the best practices developed. I think we'll go over them in detail a little bit later on, and happy to also share this presentation with you guys. You can also like go to our website and send us a message. We'll share all the materials that we have. Also, the existing smart contract audit reports are published on our website. Not all of them, not entire 140, but some part which you can take lessons from. It's important to understand how the auditor does their work so that the team is better prepared. So the workflow is like this. We would first do the manual phase of the audit. And the manual phase would show the most on the surface kind of mistakes and errors and flaws. So we'll get back with the feedback. We'll structure the issues by the severity type. And then we'll give the team enough time, basically up to them, to like fix the issues that we have found. And to my memory, like there is almost no smart contract projects where we would not actually get back with some kind of feedback that the team would have to go back and fix things, unless of course this is a really small, like 5 lines ERC20 contract. After the review has happened and the team has fixed things, we would go into writing our own test suite. So we basically like entirely neglect and disregard the tests that the team has written, because we have to write the tests from scratch and achieve the same industry standard of 95% plus test coverage. Like this is super important to do that. Yeah, and of course, even that is not like a remedy. There are other processes in place that like incur the economical analysis, but usually like we ingrain that into the test suite, like we test the economical cases. And after that, we design the final version of the audit and publish it on our website. Of course, if you don't want us to publish it, we are okay doing that. Now we've got the typical vulnerability matrix in 6 minutes left for me. I can go through like every of the vulnerability types here, like there are 10 of them. I can scroll like really fast because I don't know if you guys in the audience already know this or not. So you'll be able to like ask questions or reach out to me afterwards and we can discuss some of them. I'll just skim through real fast. So one and the major one is the reentrancy. It's probably the major one because it has been so historically important, of the DAO hack of Ethereum in 2015, and of course, no, 16, sorry. And of course, it was due to the reentrancy attack, and now everybody is paying attention to the cases of potential reentrancy. Next, this is the major one. It's like the access management stuff. Well, first of all, you want to make sure that You've provisioned that only owner has access to something where the administrator really have to have access to. You may have other roles, so the modifiers that restrict access is like super critical. But also there are cases where like you have the upgradable proxy smart contracts. So there is an admin who can upgrade the contracts. And of course, you also have very reputable people managing those upgradable smart contracts. And you're thinking like, hey, this is a pretty trusted like community member. Everybody knows him. His reputation should be important for him. So of course, he will not take advantage of like being an administrator on the smart contracts. But sometimes it actually turns out that the money wins. So I would really make all smart contracts as immutable as possible. Unchecked external call means you always have to check when you're calling the external contract, you have to check the return value, because if it's a failed, it means that the transaction failed itself, and you have to process this and maybe revert your own function. Pool asset security, there should be, like we usually look at things such as that there should be no situation where funds are locked under any like state of parameters. From another standpoint, the funds have to be withdrawn only by the person who has submitted the funds. Supposedly that is the business logic. And you could come up with some solution for the emergency withdrawal, but of course the emergency withdrawal functionality itself could contain flaws, so need to think twice. Arithmetic precision is something that we've seen in both the projects we audit, as well as some hacks that have happened in the space. And I would highly recommend to write the tests that make the thousands and thousands iterations on the operations or functions, because over time the precision and the rounding could play a really bad game. Timestamp dependence, we just need to remember that timestamp can be basically manipulated. So wherever we see things where timestamp, of course, block hash, and anything that is dependent on human or a node, we of course recommend to get rid of that. Delegatecall, we know that Delegatecall gets executed within the variable set in the storage set of the function and the smart contract that is calling the Delegatecall. Unchecked return value is something similar to the external call, but refers to Ether. And signature verification is basically important because you want to make sure that there is no repeat transaction with the same signature. So if that is critical, you can always include the nonce in your signature and count the nonces in the smart contracts, which means that nobody can submit the same transaction with the same signature and get it successfully executed more than once. There are also similar cases where you are recommended to basically include some threshold parameters for the user in the function parameters. You have to consider, we have all to consider the situations where, for example, the user enrolls today with a certain terms, say the APYs and the utilization ratio that is actual for now, but because of the congestion on the Ethereum network or the Fantom network, which, fingers crossed, is not happening on Fantom network, it may get executed tomorrow under the entirely different parameters that the user has not agreed to. So I'm usually including the threshold parameters that users have agreed to in the function, and the function will revert if these parameters are no longer achievable under the supply and demand model of your token economics implemented in the smart contract. Now, I also ask guys hey, let's think together about the 5 most severe findings that we had over last half a year, and I was expecting to see really sophisticated vectors of exploits and attacks. But look at this. Isn't it like basic stuff? Like very basic things that founders are missing. And oftentimes it's not their fault because they have worked with this for so long that sometimes they just don't notice very basic, simple things. Secondly, they may be in rush. So that's why it's just important to plan in advance and give yourself time. We are always saying like, hey, the bull market is actually not going anywhere for a while, so slow your horses, let's make everything right. Now, after the audit is done, what we usually recommend is like arranging the bug bounty campaigns, and we have worked with Immunify in the past. They've got a really great community of the developers that are really well awarded by the projects, and they were able to find really interesting like edge cases that sometimes auditors would skip, not us. And so when it gets to like better security at home, because you have to prepare for it in advance, look, you can use the auditors once or twice, like say you are listing on the exchange, say you are raising capital, right? But what happens if you have to release like every 2-3 months? You're not gonna hire the auditor. So you're left to yourself and your own best practices. What we do for the accelerated projects is we set up a totally separate quality assurance team. So there would be a developer team. The developers are mandated to have the test at 95% plus coverage. But then the quality assurance team has their own set of tests. They have their crazy spreadsheets where they model all the token economics edge cases. And then only the quality assurance team would be able to say, yes, this release candidate is actually good enough for the release. That's the only remedy that I see, because you always have to have like the second pair of eyes to have a look at the same problem and the solution to validate that nothing is missed. Well, finally, before I say thanks, guys, I've just moved to Abu Dhabi, so whoever of you lives in Abu Dhabi would love to chat. Please just give me a holler, get in touch over the website, and we'll get out for a coffee. We are always looking for great startups to invest in, to audit, to help with the development, to help with everything else. Thanks for your attention and your time. Any questions?
Yeah, just curious, because I'm sure in your line of work you have a whole set of different tools you use for testing. I was wondering what's your go-to testing frameworks, and when you test contracts, do you prefer to write your tests in Solidity or in just vanilla JavaScript or something else altogether?
Yeah, we use the frameworks for tests. One sec. So of course we write the tests in Truffle. This is our preferred framework overall. Ganache, and then we could use the local Ethereum fork. And we use things like Slither, Mithril, Echidna for the static analysis. And of course, all types of small Node.js libraries that are ready for Truffle.
Okay. I'm just wondering, any reason why you don't write the tests in Solidity itself? And having said that, how do you normally test things on mainnet if you do that?
We actually don't have to test things on mainnet. We can always test on using the tools that I've just mentioned.
Okay, sure, thanks.
Another question, where could I read more about smart contract vulnerabilities, like websites or like news?
Sorry, could you repeat that?
Yeah, where could I read like more about smart contract vulnerabilities? Like, are there any sources where we could go to?
Yeah, of course. So first of all, we always read rekt.news, R-E-K-T. They profile kind of most recent hacks, and it's just good to read about them. We do our own analysis of every hack that is happening. However, we just don't have enough capacity to like publish it, sadly, on like Twitter and Medium. We definitely should do this. And overall, just just a set of Medium articles about the hacks. All right, so no more questions, which I take as a compliment that it was explicit enough, but if not, please give me a holler. Thanks, everybody.